The Sycamore Inn wasn't fancy, but it was always fully booked. Nestled at the edge of a sleepy town, it attracted travelers seeking quiet. What they didn't know was that room 308 held a chilling reputation every week. A guest vanished without a trace, no screams, no struggle, just gone. Detective Isla Rivera was assigned the latest case when a backpacker named Owen Hayes failed to check out. Local police shrugged it off. Must have left early, they said, but Isla's gut told her otherwise. When she visited the room, it looked untouched. A half-eaten sandwich, an open travel guide, and Owen's passport still on the desk. Nothing. Stolen? No signs of forced entry. That night, the front desk clerk slipped a tattered leather diary into Isla's hand. No explanation, just a whisper. It's been predicting every disappearance. Inside, dates were scribbled down. One per week, the last name, Owen Hayes. The next page already had a date. 3 days from now, the name was still blank. Isla's hands trembled as she turned the page. If the diary was real, then someone was choosing the victims in advance, and someone else was writing it all down. But who? Detective Isla Rivera stared at the blank space beneath the next date 3 days away. The leather-bound diary looked old, but the handwriting was recent. Fresh ink, steady hand. Whoever wrote it wasn't trying to hide. They were leaving BREADCRUMBS. She took the diary to her motel room and combed through each entry. The list went back 3 months. 12 names. 12 disappearances. Every one of them checked into room 308. Every one of them vanished the night before checkout. No family ever heard from them again. Isla called the families. Most were still waiting, hoping for a call or email. One mother broke into sobs when Isla mentioned the diary. Another hung up, shouting that it was all the hotel's fault. She returned to Sycamore Inn and asked the clerk, a quiet man named Henry, why he gave her the diary. I didn't find it, he muttered. It just ... appears on my desk every Sunday. Open to the next name. But this time the name was blank. Isla pressed. Henry looked her dead in the eye. Because they haven't chosen yet. Isla's blood ran cold. Was she the next? Name the diary now sat open on her bedside table. Waiting. Isla couldn't sleep. The diary was still open, that empty line taunting her from the nightstand. Her instincts screamed that she was being watched. At 2:17 a.m., the hallway outside, room 308 creaked. She jumped from bed, grabbed her flashlight, and cracked the door open. A man in a gray hoodie stood motionless at the end of the corridor. His back was to her, but he wasn't moving, just staring at the wall. Isla stepped out and called, "Sir." Number. Response? She walked closer, cautiously, hand on the taser clipped to her hip. "Are you a guest here?" The man turned slowly. His face was pale, hollow-eyed. Something about him didn't feel human. Then, suddenly, he whispered, "You don't belong here," and vanished into room 310 next to 308. Isla burst in after him, but the room was empty, the bed untouched, curtains drawn, and worst of all, the diary was now sitting on the dresser inside. 310, the same one she had left back in her room. She picked it up. The next page had changed. Now, there was a name scribbled under tomorrow's date, Isla Rivera. She stared at it in horror. The diary had chosen her. The next morning, Isla demanded the hotel security footage. The manager, a nervous woman named Carla, hesitated but handed over the hard drive. "You won't find anything," she warned. "No one ever does." Hours of footage played back in Isla's laptop. Guests entering, staff cleaning, people laughing in the lobby. But when it came to room 308 and 310, the video jumped. 5-minute gaps. Every time someone approached the cursed rooms, the footage glitched or vanished. But one clip caught her attention, a brief second of the hallway before Owen Hayes disappeared. A shadowy figure stood outside room 308, head tilted, staring into the peephole. The timestamp was 3:08 a.m. Owen's checkout was scheduled for 8 a.m. Isla enhanced the frame. The figure was blurry, but she could just make out one thing. He was holding the diary. She zoomed in again. His other hand was reaching for room 308's doorknob. The door opened by itself. No one inside opened it. She paused the frame. The man's face was still unclear, but his hoodie matched the one worn by the stranger she saw last night. This wasn't random. Whoever or whatever was behind the diary was watching. And now, it was her turn. Determined to dig deeper, I started questioning the staff. Most denied knowing anything until she found Malik, a bellhop who'd worked at the Sycamore Inn for 6 years. He didn't need convincing. "I knew this would happen again," Malik whispered, eyes darting to the hallway. "I told Henry to burn that damn diary, but he wouldn't listen." "Who writes in it?" Isla asked. "No one." "That's the point," Malik replied. "Every Sunday night, it just updates itself. Sometimes in the lobby, sometimes on the front desk. Once, it even appeared in a guest's suitcase." He told her about the first disappearance, a woman named Claire Weller, a travel blogger who checked into room 308. They found her luggage in perfect order. Her laptop open on a blog post she never finished. The last line she typed, "He's outside the door, and he knows my name." Isla shivered. Malik hesitated before adding, "There's a rumor. The room used to be part of a psychiatric ward before this was a hotel. They say a patient who claimed he could erase people died in room 308. Erase, no body, no trace, like they never existed. Now Isla understood this wasn't just a killer. This was something far worse. Isla spent the night digging through town records. The Sycamore Inn had once been the Ashwood Asylum, shut down in 1984 after a fire destroyed half the building. Among the files was a faded intake form for patient number 308, Elias Vance. His diagnosis, delusional psychosis with obsessive-compulsive writing behaviors. Elias believed he could make people vanish by writing their names in his book of silence. When doctors took it away, he stopped eating, stopped talking, and eventually died in his room. Room 308. Local legend claimed his final act before death was writing one last name in blood on the asylum wall. That section of the building had collapsed. No records showed who that name was. Back in her motel, Isla returned to the diary. Another name had appeared under hers, Henry Fields. The front desk clerk, she ran to the hotel lobby, heart pounding. Henry was gone. His chair sat spinning slowly. A cup of coffee was still steaming. No one had seen him leave. His name faded from the diary before her, eyes vanishing like it had never been written. Isla realized something terrifying. Once a name was in the book, it couldn't be undone, and hers was next. Isla locked herself in her motel room, clutching the diary like it was ticking dynamite. Midnight was approaching. She couldn't stop thinking about Henry's coffee cup still warm when she found it. His disappearance had been instant, silent, clean. She flipped to her page. Under her name, a time had appeared. 3:08 A.M. It was always 3:08, she scribbled. A note to herself. Stay awake. Do not open the door. Do not speak. Do not look through the peephole. Then she bolted the door, pushed a chair against it, and aimed her taser at the entrance. 2:47 a.m. Time slowed. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. The air grew colder, like the room itself was sinking. Then came the knock. Soft, deliberate, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. She held her breath. Then came a whisper. Her name Isla. Another knock. She reached for her phone. No signal. The lights flickered. The door rattled. Then silence. She checked the time. 3:09 A.M. She was still here, alive, breathing. The diary sat where she left it. A new message had appeared under her name. Skipped. She watched. She knows she must finish the list. Isla stared at it in horror. The book didn't want her dead. It wanted her to replace the writer. Isla didn't sleep. She couldn't. The diary sat on her nightstand, its presence heavy, magnetic. The latest entry pulsed in her mind. She must finish the list. The next page was blank. Tomorrow's date awaited a name. She didn't want to believe it, but the signs were undeniable. The diary had spared her. Why? Because she didn't run. She witnessed, she understood. Now it wanted her to write the next name. She returned to the hotel and confronted Malik. You knew, didn't you? The book doesn't just predict. It needs someone to continue the ritual. Malik looked defeated. We've all seen it. One person disappears weekly. The moment someone refuses to name the next, the book finds a replacement. That's how Henry became the last victim. So if I don't write a name, you'll vanish. Just like the others. The diary lay open at the front desk now, waiting. A pen sat beside it. Isla felt sick. Was this what happened to the original Elias Vance? He refused to stop, and now the hotel itself was cursed to feed the book. One name, that's all it would take to survive. Her hand hovered over the page. Could she do it? Isla stared at the blank page. Her pulse thundered in her ears. One name, a stranger, a sacrifice to stay alive. The diary was silent, but she could feel it waiting. Then she remembered Owen Hayes, Claire Weller, Henry, all innocent, all erased, like they never existed. Could she really become the one who continued it? She slammed the book shut. No, she whispered. But as she turned to leave, the diary flipped open on its own. The pen rolled toward her hand. The page glowed faintly. Isla backed away and sprinted from the hotel. She drove to the edge of town, thinking distance might break the curse. But when she stopped at a diner an hour later, the diary was sitting on the passenger seat. She hadn't brought it. Heart pounding, she opened it again. A new line appeared. Refusal logged. Replacement procedure initiated. Then her name faded. A new name appeared. Malik Dorsey. No wait, she gasped. The book ignored her. She sped back to the hotel, burst into the lobby, but Malik was gone. Only his cap remained on the counter. The diary had chosen and now new date appeared. 1 week later, the line below it was still blank. The Sycamore Inn stood silent in the rain. Isla sat in room 308, staring at the diary resting on her lap. Malik was gone, erased, just like the rest. She was the only one left who remembered them. She had tried everything, burning the diary, burying it, even locking it in the hotel's old boiler room, but it always returned, sometimes beside her bed. Once, in her coat pocket, the new date loomed. 1 week from today. The blank space beneath it mocked her. She realized something chilling. This wasn't a curse. It was a system, a design. Something had created the book to keep balance. Feed it names, and it lets you live. Starve it, and it chooses on its own. But Isla had one final plan. She set up cameras in room 308. Microphones, motion sensors. She would stay in the room until the time came. Let the diary choose her again. Let it try. 3:08 a.m. arrived. The door creaked open by itself. Darkness spilled into the room like smoke, but this time, Isla didn't flinch. She faced it and whispered, "I choose you." The diary snapped shut. The cameras went dark. Room 308 has remained empty ever since. But the book still waits. Somewhere,